Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Monday, August 24th. We've got your top headlines for you from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. I really appreciate you being here to get filled in on everything that's impacting you here in Northeast Ohio. Here's what's going on this afternoon. First up, we'll talk about Mayfield High School and 3 volleyball players who have tested positive for COVID-19, this being the first week back of school for many school districts here in Northeast Ohio. Also, we have just learned that university hospitals will be a site for phase 2 of a COVID-19 vaccine trial. This is the trial that's being run by Pfizer. We'll tell you all about that. We've got those most up-to-date numbers for you from the Ohio Department of Health. We'll give you an update on Postmaster Louis DeJoy, who continues to testify before Congress today about changes that have been made to the postal system as we look toward an election happening on November 3rd, where more Americans than ever are expected to vote by mail. Plus, let you know about an IRS check that you might get this week and you might have already gotten. If you have direct deposit, you might want to check your bank account and see if you've got a little bit, and I do mean a little bit, of extra money in your account. And we'll let you know what St. ROCCO'S Parish in Cleveland is doing in order to get that Italian food to you in a couple of weeks, because they won't, unfortunately, be able to have their usual festival. But they do have something pretty great that's happening that I think people will be pretty happy to know about. First up, it is the first week of school for so many families in Northeast Ohio, and we are learning that 3 Mayfield High School volleyball players have tested positive for COVID-19. All 3 of those players were asymptomatic when they were tested on Friday. That's when they were tested. They remained asymptomatic through Sunday. So on Sunday, those players started experiencing some symptoms of COVID-19. School officials said that they took a rapid COVID-19 test on Friday, and as a result, Mayfield's freshman, junior varsity, and varsity volleyball teams are suspended from playing and practicing until further notice. This came out because Superintendent of the Kirtland Local School District also shared a message with parents and students in the Kirtland School District because they scrimmaged Mayfield last week. According to the Kirtland statement, the Kirtland girls volleyball team scrimmaged Mayfield on Wednesday. So now, based on recommendations from the Lake County General Health District, all players and coaches who were at that game will now be monitoring their health very closely for any COVID-19 symptoms. Now, this comes after Friday in North Olmsted when the football team had to shut everything down after a positive COVID-19 test of its own. So school sports is something that is being watched very closely. Unfortunately, there are a few positive cases in Mayfield now, so we'll be keeping an eye on that and bringing you any updates that we have on fall sports in those particular areas and in general here in Northeast Ohio as we get them. Here's some good news out of University Hospital related to COVID-19 vaccines. UH has been chosen as a trial site for phase 2 of Pfizer's test of their experimental vaccine. UH will be one of nearly 120 sites worldwide that are taking part in this trial. It's run by Pfizer and BioNTech. In this trial, they're looking for more than 30,000 participants to help make sure that they can find a vaccine and quickly find a solution to the COVID-19 pandemic. The goal of this trial is to prevent COVID-19 in people who have not yet been infected, and also to stop COVID-19 even in the case of individuals who have been exposed. So big goals for this trial. UH is excited to be a part of it. Dr. Daniel Simon, who is the Chief Clinical and Scientific Officer and President at UH Cleveland Medical Center, said that this is encouraging news for Ohioans. He says the trial has been approved by the FDA and UH's Institutional Review Board. He says they're expecting a shipment of the experimental vaccine and initiation of the trial in the next week, so this will be moving very quickly. Now, the Pfizer trial has been recognized as one of the most promising trials in the current race to find a vaccine for COVID-19 that has been fast-tracked by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration after early studies in the U.S. and Germany. So in this trial, it'll be an even split. It'll be a 1-to-1 ratio. So for everyone who gets an actual vaccine, there'll be someone who gets a placebo or a inactive version, a faked version of the vaccine, so that they can test and see what effect the vaccine has on stopping COVID-19. If it's proven to be safe and effective, the vaccine receives regulatory approval, Pfizer and BioNTech expect to be able to manufacture up to 100 million doses by the end of the year. The study is looking to enroll a diverse group of adults between the ages of 18 and 85. If you think that might be you, you can check more information out about that on the University of Hospitals website. Now remember, everyone who does volunteer for the trial may not be accepted because there are qualifications, but at the most basic level, they're looking for diverse participants between the ages of 18 and 85. Now let's take a look at those latest numbers on COVID-19 from the Ohio Department of Health. In the last 24 hours, our new cases are below 900, and new daily reported deaths are down today, but there was a big number of reported deaths over the weekend. We'll talk about that. Current hospitalizations are still lower than we've seen lately, but that number is up from yesterday, up from Sunday. So in the past 24 hours, we've seen 849 new daily reported cases of COVID-19. Now keep in mind, this number, there is a delay in the reporting because it's not like there's instantly a positive test and then that is instantly relayed to the Ohio Department of Health. There's a bit of delay in the reporting of that number. That does bring the total number of COVID-19 cases that we've known about here in Ohio to 115,651. Now, according to the Ohio Department of Health, about 83% of those cases are presumed to be recovered. That presumed to be recovered percentage keeps ticking up, so that's a positive thing. The total number of cases that are presumed to be recovered right now are 95,554. And our current positive test rating is 4%. That's the same as it was yesterday. So that says for all of the COVID-19 tests that are being done, 4% are coming back positive. That is below the World Health Organization's recommended threshold of 5%. So that is also good news. In the last 24 hours, we have seen 8 new deaths reported. That is up from Sunday when we saw 3 new deaths reported. But on Saturday, we saw 59 new deaths reported. And we are now right on the verge of a total of 4,000 deaths here in the state of Ohio. That exact number is 3,986 at this time. In the last 24 hours, 59 people have been newly hospitalized related to COVID-19. This is where we start to get into the data that's more real-time, a more real-time indicator of what we're seeing. And there are 805 people who are currently hospitalized with COVID-19. That's an increase of up from 25 from Sunday. So there were 25 less patients hospitalized on Sunday. Now that number is 802. And of those 802 people who are currently hospitalized, there are 276 who are currently in the intensive care unit. So about 34% of all of those patients are getting treatment in an ICU right now. We've seen 10 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours. Our statewide hospital bed occupancy rate is down. This is also a positive. It's at 68% right now. We saw that rate in the mid 70% last week. So 68% of the hospital beds in the state are currently occupied. That means 32% of those hospital beds are available for someone who might be in need of it for treatment for COVID-19 or anything else. Now let's take a look at the U.S. and the global COVID-19 numbers. These numbers come from Johns Hopkins University. As of today, as of 3 p.m. today, there are now 5,723,181 known cases of COVID-19 in the U.S. and 176,991 known deaths related to COVID-19 in the U.S. We have about 24% of the known global cases and about 22% of the known global deaths. Globally, there are now 23,513,905 known cases of COVID-19 and 809,999 known deaths related to COVID-19 globally. Now let's turn our attention to what's happening in Congress today. The United States Postal Service's Postmaster General Louis DeJoy continues to testify before Congress, and he said before Congress today that he is recommending that people send their mail-in ballots back 15 days before the November 3rd election. So that's looking like around October 20th is what he's recommending for people to send their mail-in ballots back in if you are choosing to vote by mail in the election that's coming up on November 3rd. DeJoy said this in front of the House Oversight Committee. He said to request your mail-in ballot 15 days before and to mail it back at least 7 days before the election. This is to allow for the turnaround time in the mail. So he said this today in front of the House Oversight Committee. He says that this has nothing to do with recent operational changes that have been likened to causing delays in the mail, but it's simply to make sure that all votes be counted. He also said that he is committed to delivering ballots on time. Here's a quote from DeJoy: "We will do everything we can to handle and deliver election mail in a manner consistent with the proven processes and procedures that we have relied on responsibly." He also said that any sorting machines that have been removed from postal locations will not be replaced. But he did say last week that he would be pausing those operational changes. He would no longer be removing mail collection boxes, and he would not be moving processing machines, and would not be banning overtime, but allowing overtime as needed to process the mail. He was also made aware today that he is facing a subpoena threat if he doesn't turn over postal documents to the committee. Representative Carolyn Maloney, who is the chair of the House Oversight Committee, told Joy that he could be expected to get a subpoena if he doesn't turn over those documents. DeJoy also did admit that he gives a lot of money to Republicans, but said that that does not impact his ability to be an independent postmaster general. He said, "I give a lot of money. This goes for the record. I get a lot of money to Republicans." And then Democratic Representative Peter Welsh asked, "How do you square being a major supporter of President Trump and Republican committees and other members with the independence that's required of the Postmaster General? Can you really do both?" And DeJoy replied, "Absolutely, sir." Over the weekend, the House voted to pass the Delivering for America Act, which would reverse the changes that DeJoy has put in place. That would include those processing machines that have been taken out of certain locations, and it would also send $25 billion to the U.S. Postal Service in order to ensure that it has the funding that it needs in order to effectively carry out whatever necessary in order to make sure that mail-in ballots and all mail is delivered effectively, on time, without delays. Now, that bill is sitting there because the Senate remains on recess and is not expected to return back until after Labor Day. So unless the Senate is called back, that bill will be sitting there ready for the Senate when they do return to Washington, D.C. Now let's talk about money. Millions of people could potentially be getting an IRS check this week. No, I am not talking about a stimulus check. That is something that Congress has still yet to come to an agreement on, and as I just told you, the Senate is on recess. So there is no debate happening right now about an upcoming stimulus check, but you could get a check as part of an interest payment on tax refunds that were filed before that July 15th deadline. Almost 14 million people are expected to get a check this week, but it's not going to be much. It's going to be a small check, so keep that in mind. The IRS says that the average amount of these checks will be about $18, but money is money, and you should know why you're getting a deposit if you have direct deposit, or why you're getting a check in the mail from the IRS. This is because the IRS filing deadline was extended from April 15th to July 15th, and in that time, the interest rate changed. So this is a payment for interest on your refund. If you get direct deposit, you'll see in the memo line, it'll say INT amount, and that'll show up in your bank account. You might already have it. So some people might get it this week. Some people might have already got it. If you got your refund check in the mail, that's how you'll get this payment too. I checked today, and I actually got mine last week, and I didn't even know it. So now I've got a little bit of extra coffee money to spend, actually decaf, because I don't drink coffee. But anyway, check your bank account. You may already have a deposit in there from the IRS. So you may have something you weren't counting on. Maybe you can treat yourself to something nice. Maybe some ice cream or something at one of the many wonderful ice cream places you all have told me about here in Northeast Ohio. Or you could take that money and you could use it at the drive-thru Italian food fair at St. Rocco's Church in Cleveland. This is happening. It's a drive-thru food fair that'll be happening the weekend of Labor Day weekend, and unfortunately, it's because the 106th Street Rocco Church Festival has been canceled due to COVID-19. That normally happens on Labor Day, but they are still having a drive-thru fest. They'll have their sausage sandwiches, meatballs, cannoli, lasagna, spaghetti, limoncello cake, and of course, their beloved zeppoli. This is fried dough balls covered in powdered sugar. So all of that good stuff. It's going to be all weekend long from September 4th through September 7th. That's 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. The church is located at 3205 Fulton Road here in Cleveland. And here's an interesting fact. Saint Rocco, the patron saint of the church, a 14th century French saint who was miraculously cured of the plague and is the patron saint of plagues. So St. Rocco pastor Reverend James Meyer is now calling for believers to unite in praying to St. Rocco for assistance at this time as we work through COVID-19. Unfortunately, as COVID-19 has canceled the 106th Street St. Rocco Church Festival. But you can get all your good stuff through the drive-thru September 4th through 7th, and we've got all those details on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app. That is it for your afternoon update for Monday, August 24th. I will see you next on What's New at 5 p.m. with your trending stories and also your reactions to the fact that tailgating has been banned before the Cleveland Browns games this fall. I know that is a dagger through the heart of Northeast Ohio sports fans, myself included. It's not something I wanted to hear, maybe not something that is unexpected, but definitely not what we wanted to hear today. So we'll have what you're saying about that. If you don't have cable, if you don't have access to traditional TV, you can watch What's New for free on the WKYC app. So just download that app from the Apple Store or from the Android Store, and then when you open it up, tap on Watch, and you can do that anytime any of our news broadcasts are live, by the way, so you can see it there. All right, I will see you there, and then I'll see you back here tomorrow on 3 News Now. Everyone, have a great afternoon. I'm Stephanie Haney.